All right, folks. Well, here we go. It's such a treat to get to do this. I really think our music, our lyrics are as sophisticated, beautiful, and complex as any lyrics or poetry in the world. So let's take a look at what we got here. First of all, we'll look at rhyme scheme. So, daughter, we're going to put an A here. Holler, we'll put an A. Love gets a B, of gets a B, and dollar gets an A. Now, a couple things to talk about here with this. This gives us a rhyme scheme of A, A, B, B, A overall. And does that ring a bell for anybody? If it doesn't, let's see what we got here. Maybe this will help jar your memory. A mouse in her room woke Miss Dowd. She was frightened, it must be allowed. Soon a happy thought hit her, so to scare off the critter, she sat up in bed and meowed. Yes, so we've got here a limerick. And this particular rhyme scheme is very popular throughout English poetry, and limericks in particular. And I hadn't given much thought to my own songwriting, but I'm realizing now I've got a couple songs that use this as well. Forever Entwined, for example, is one that has this. So looking this over, we've got a very interesting 5-line quintet stanza that has a very beautiful and perfect rhyme scheme to it. Now, what Loretta does that I just think is so breathtaking and beautiful is what we would call near rhyme. And my favorite poet, Emily Dickinson, was a master of near rhyme. She is widely considered to be, if not the greatest, one of the greatest American poets of all time. And she was so amazing at near rhyme. Let's look and see how that works in one of her poems. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So we get this soul-all rhyme, and it's the L sound, it's the vowel L sound. So it's kind of rhyming, but not quite. And that creates a certain kind of tension that I just love. And so here we have Loretta rhyming daughter with holler, getting that ER sound at the end, and then rhyming it later with a dollar. And all of these together, I'm going to rank Loretta right there with Emily Dickinson as far as a brilliant use of slant rhyme or near rhymes, whatever you might call it. All right, so there's a little bit about rhyming throughout the poem, and we'll talk more about that as we go through each stanza. But this first line, how I love it. She says in the very first opening, well, I was borned. And borned is a word that would not be commonly used in modern English. However, it's interesting to hear people talk about standard English. And if you're a standard English stickler, I'm not going to criticize you, but I will just hastily say language is very alive and living and constantly changing. And English was only standardized fairly recently in terms of linguistic development. 15th, 16th century, had a lot to do with the printing press. And basically when the printing press came out and they needed to standardize how words were going to be, the people with the money and the power got their way of talking standardized. But I don't think that is any indication that the people who didn't have the money and the power were speaking any less of a sophisticated or beautiful dialect. So with that in mind, when we say I was born, for us in our modern age, that may sound a bit non-standard, but actually there's an old verb, to born. So you can say I born, and then you would say I borned as the past tense, and then as the passive voice, I was born. And that is actually all completely standard English. It has just fallen out of usage, except in our beautiful dialects here in Appalachia. I was born a coal miner's daughter. And I love the spirit behind that because she just so boldly, from the very first words, says how proud she is of who she is, of the way she talks, of her background, coal miner's daughter. Everything about this first line is just a slap in the face in terms of bold authenticity. And I absolutely love it. So, in a cabin on a hill in Butcher Holler, we talked about that rhyme scheme. We were poor, but we had love. Our shifting rhyme scheme, that's the one thing Daddy made sure of. He shoveled coal to make a poor man's daughter. All right. So we get a character introduction of her father here. Obviously, he has to exist since she's his daughter. And we get some wonderful descriptions bringing to life what he did, shoveling coal to earn money and providing love for his family. Moving on to the next stanza, we get a variation in the rhyme scheme, which is kind of cool. Keeps the poem interesting and vibrant. My daddy worked all night in the Van Leer coal mines. So we would think that would be, well, that is maybe our A for that stanza. All day long in the field hoeing corn. So here we get a break. All right, and mine is actually not going to rhyme with much of anything in this stanza. But we get corn, and then night and light, and then morn. So those go together. And again, I really like these variations because they just keep everything interesting to your ear, whether you realize it or not. And then we get another character introduction. So here she describes her father. Here she describes her mother. Mama rocked the babies at night. Read the Bible by the coal oil light. Such wonderful imagery happening here, and creating this scene that you can just picture so beautifully. And everything would start all over come break of morn. So, moving on to our third stanza. Daddy loved and raised 8 kids on a miner's pay. Mama scrubbed our clothes on a washboard every day. So here we kind of have the dad stanza, the mom stanza, and now it's kind of back and forth, which I think is cool. Why, I've seen her fingers bleed to complain there was no need. She'd smile in Mama's understanding way. All right. So these incredible descriptions of her mother and father, the imagery, everything about it just brings the whole song to life. Moving on. In the summertime, we didn't have shoes to wear, but in the wintertime, we'd all get a brand new pair. So now we're back to our normal rhyme scheme. Also here, A, B, B, A. So payday way, bleed and need. And now we're back to normal rhyme scheme. A, B, B, A. I notice a little bit of alliteration here. So wintertime weed. Pulling that together. And there were a couple of places, that I wanted to point out where I'm not exactly sure what to call this alliteration, but I feel like it's the same consonant in the same place. Like my daddy worked all night in the Van Leer coal mines all day. So here we have the D's in both of those places right there. Same here from a mail order catalog, money made, all of these M's going on here. Make it just breathe and come to life. From a mail order catalog, money made from selling a hog, Daddy always managed, look at all those M's, going to get the money somewhere. Such beautiful alliteration. And then what I think is absolutely amazing, I've used this a lot in my AP classes and other English classes just to talk about some literary terms. So we get this reiteration of this idea. I'm proud to be a coal miner's daughter. A, I remember well the well where I drew water. Now look at this line right here. It's just beautiful. I remember well the well where I drew water. Now, when we have a word in the middle of a line, and then we repeat that as it begins the next phrase, that is a literary device called anadiplosis. Anadiplosis. You can see that. Here we go. As an example, our doubt is our passion, and our passion is our task, from Henry James. So you can see how passion goes from here to here. So it ends this phrase and it starts this phrase. Now Loretta does the same thing here. I remember well, the well. So it ends and starts. But here's where it's just stunningly brilliant. It's a pun. And so this well is an adverb telling us how she remembers it, remember well. And then this one is a noun. So we're going to call this an anadiplotic pun. I'm just going to make that up. And I just think it's amazing. She is so brilliant. The work we done was hard. Okay, and here we have an irregular use of the past tense. That would be very Appalachian. Notice all the W's now. So we went from M's up here. Well, work. At night we'd sleep because we were tired. Some more W's, and never thought of leaving Butcher Holler. Again, these near rhymes with water and holler that I love so much. And I think that's it for that stanza. Let's see. Lots of things have changed since way back then. And it's so good to be back home again. Not much left but the floors. B, nothing lives here anymore except the memories of a coal miner's daughter. All right. So anyway, there's just a few of the wonderfully brilliant, complex, beautiful literary devices at work in some Appalachian mountain music for you. Hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope it has added to your appreciation and love for this amazing song, and I hope all this analysis doesn't take anything away from you. And if it does, don't ever watch one of these videos again, and just love the music, because this stuff is just scratching the surface of the magic of the song. It's fun to talk about these little devices and how they all come together, but in the end, there's just so much heart and soul and so much about the human experience that makes this song so amazing. All right, everybody, enjoy.